Back in the 16th century, while Europe was busy tearing itself apart over gold and God, a tiny empire clung to the edge of the world, the Republic of Ragusa. You might not know its name, but in its day, Ragusa was nothing short of a miracle. It was a walled city on the Adriatic Sea, caught between two colossal powers, the Ottoman Empire and the Venetian Republic, either of which could have crushed it instantly. Yet, for almost 500 years, Ragusa didn't just survive, it thrived. How? Not through war, but through wit, silence, and gold. They perfected the art of being almost invisible. They paid tribute to both empires, traded secrets, and whispered their way into a fragile peace. While others were raising armies and spilling blood, Ragusa was raising relationships. While empires were bleeding each other dry, Ragusa acted as a ghostly middleman, quietly profiting from everyone else's chaos. But what happens when a people live too long in the shadows they've so carefully built? By the 18th century, Ragusa had transformed. Its marble streets gleamed, its merchants draped themselves in silk, and its libraries overflowed with knowledge. It was a strange kind of paradise. But the very soul of the city, that humble, desperate need for survival that once defined it, began to rot. The young grew restless, the merchants became nobles, and the old, hard-won lessons of caution, they curdled into pride. They forgot the shadows that had once protected them. They forgot that peace built on fear must still be guarded by wisdom. Then came 1806. Napoleon's army, like a storm without warning, marched across Europe. The French didn't need permission to invade Ragusa, they just needed a reason. And they found one in the city's profound silence. Ragusa had no allies, no army, no plan. In just a few days, the Republic of Ragusa, 5 centuries of masterful survival, was gone. There were no epic battles, no heroic last stand. Just absence. A people who had built an empire out of whispers simply vanished in silence. There's something haunting about that, isn't there? The idea that caution can become its own downfall. That the same shadow that once kept you safe can one day swallow you whole. Ragusa didn't die because of its enemies. It died because its people stopped believing they could ever fall. And maybe that's the truest crime of all, the crime against one's own history. But this story isn't just about a forgotten empire. It's about us. Because whether you live in a country, a city, or just your own quiet routine, we all build our own versions of Ragusa. We make peace with danger. We trade inconvenient truths for comforting lies. We convince ourselves that as long as we play along, we'll be safe. But history doesn't work like that. It always remembers what we choose to ignore. A historian once wrote that Ragusa's motto was non bene pro toto libertas vendita oro, liberty is not well sold for all the gold in the world. And yet, that's exactly what they did. Piece by piece, trade by trade, generation by generation. Until one day, there was no liberty left, only gold. And soon after, not even that. You see, history doesn't repeat itself because we forget facts. It repeats because we forget feelings. We forget what fear felt like. We forget what courage cost. And when memory fades, pride steps in, quiet, confident, and fatal. The fall of Ragusa is the story of what happens when comfort outlives curiosity. When a people grow too wise to learn, and too safe to change. In a way, Ragusa still exists. Not on any map, but in every place, and every person, who hides behind the illusion of control. Every empire that believes it's too smart to fall. Every life that trades freedom for a quiet peace. The city's walls still stand today, overlooking the Adriatic Sea. And if you walk there at dusk, they say the stones still whisper, reminding you that survival without purpose is just another form of death. So what do we take from this forgotten city? That true strength isn't in avoiding the storm, but in remembering that it can always come again. That wisdom isn't what we know, but what we refuse to forget. And that sometimes, the greatest crime is not the act itself, but the silence that follows. This was Dotted Odds, where history and humanity meet. If this story spoke to you, stay a while. There are more tales waiting, stories of forgotten empires, unsolved crimes, and the timeless lessons that still whisper beneath the noise of the modern world. Because the past is never really past. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. We'll see you in the next story.